What is something that is expensive, but only owned by poor people? Single items of things that should be bought in bulk. Like single rolls of toilet paper. Barely scraping by paycheck to paycheck means buying bulk is sometimes impossible. Samuel Vimes got it right. Take boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50. But an affordable pair of boots, which were sort of okay for a season or two, and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought and wore until the soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Ankh-Morpork on a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years time, while the poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. A perpetually broken car. I was leaving an abusive relationship that also ruined my credit, so my parents bought me a car so that I could survive once I got out. They overpaid and spent $3,000 on a 2002 Toyota Corolla with over 200,000 miles on it. It was a nice gesture, but I'm now stuck paying them back every month, and I have spent over $1,500 in repairs on this car in the last year, and it's still not running like it should. There's no way I could find another sucker to buy this piece of junk, so I'm stuck with it until I can pay it off, or until I fix my credit. What a mess. Dental problems. Those impacted wisdom teeth are hella expensive. I remember I had an old Chevy truck that cost so much to maintain and keep fuel in that I couldn't afford to save for another car. I literally kept me broke until I eventually joined the military and could afford a different vehicle. Crappy cars are more expensive than you realize. Well, at my job there are a few people who I'm aware of their salary. They make around $25,000 a year after taxes. One of them somehow has a lifted Ford Raptor that I hear is like $50,000. He recently acquired a motorcycle too. He probably thinks it's cool, but he's likely eating the dirt off his tires because he can't afford anything else but those payments and insurance. A lot of kids. The poor are often very fruitful. Poor people not only have a lot of kids, but they also tend to have them much younger than their wealthier counterparts. A lot of people like to assume it's because poor people are too dumb to understand birth control, so I'd like to offer a hypothetical perspective on this. Imagine you're a 17-year-old girl growing up in poverty. You're not the best student, so even if you could get financial aid for college, you're afraid you wouldn't do very well anyway. Plus, you need that time to work and make money, and school so far has only gotten in the way of that. After, if you graduate high school, you'll probably work the same minimum wage job you've been working, only now you'll get more hours. What do you have to look forward to? What's within your grasp that would make you something meaningful? Well, being a mom is pretty important and special. Everyone celebrates a new baby. Plus, like any 17-year-old, you're eager to show you're an adult now, and what could be more adult than being a parent? So yeah, you know about condoms. You and your boyfriend use them sometimes, but not always. You know that the clinic will give you birth control, but you gained weight and felt sick when you tried it, so you don't bother with it again. Plus it's a whole bus trip and a bunch of waiting, and you have better things to do. You're not planning to get pregnant, but when you end up that way, it's not some sort of death sentence. Abortion is expensive and scary, to say nothing of whether it's even accessible to you, or whether you or your family has a moral objection to it, so that's not really an option. And after the first couple weeks of anxiety, you start to get excited about how this could be a good thing. People are nicer to you than they've been in years, checking up on you, asking about the pregnancy and the baby. You're something now, you're a mom. Lack of preventative care. Cheap shoes or cheap mattress leads to more expensive medical care. Lack of dental maintenance leads to expensive surgeries. That kind of thing. When you can't afford preventative medical care, it catches up to you, leading to more expensive costs later. Just paying rent. Where I live, mortgage is way cheaper than getting a house, but they don't give me a mortgage because I don't earn enough, so I have to keep renting expensive places, making it take even longer for me to save up. and in my situation getting a better paying job is difficult. I swear this world is made for the rich and middle class. Poor people are straight up freaked in every way possible. Loads of stuff. It's expensive being poor for a variety of reasons, including having to buy poorer quality goods and needing to replace them more often because of initial cost, not being able to bulk buy, predatory loans, and really anything that puts someone in a you have no other choice position. On top of that, there are things like cheap food being bad for your health and incurring expensive health bills later in life, continuing paying rent on something you'll never own, cheap cars that require maintenance more often. Being poor is expensive AF. Owning cars that are worth more than their house. So this is probably the sickest burn I have ever witnessed in person. In high school, was hanging out with a friend while he was installing a new stereo/speakers in his truck. His family was very wealthy, have since reached 3, level, but he worked to pay for gas and anything he wanted for the truck. Nothing fancy, just an upgrade over the stock speakers. Truck was an older work truck from his parents' company. Another friend comes over in his current year model Z71, blacked out, chromed out, lifted, tinted money pit of a truck. His family is very much working class poor. Him and his family's vehicles are easily multiple times more valuable than their house. He starts talking shit about my friend's fairly beat up truck, how much nicer his is, etc. This goes on for a while. Finally my friend is just, well, at least my family can flush toilet paper and not have to burn it in the backyard. Such a specific, brutal and true you're poor crack. Shopping carts. My ex was a manager at a supermarket in a low-income area, and he and an employee or two would drive around every couple of weeks to collect stranded shopping carts. He told me stories of finding carts used as all kinds of crap, including dog cages and a grill. Someone turned a shopping cart over on top of a fire pit and grilled meat on it. Innovation. He didn't get that cart back. Chrysler 300. You just brought back the funniest memory. My husband and I were looking at used cars. The hungry young car salesman told us he had something really special in the back. Walks us out there and shows us a Chrysler 300 that the former owner had bought huge, chrome 22 wheels for. It's every homer's dream. Except my husband is the gingery whitest dad type ever and definitely not interested in this car. The kid put the cherry on the experience when he, straight face, said to my husband, "Can't you see yourself rolling on dubs?" My husband looked at me, totally lost and trusting me for translation. I was helplessly giggling at how badly the salesman had misread us and we left. Now every time we see a car with big wheels I ask him if he'd like to roll on dubs. Student loans. Been out of school for 5+ years now, still have 50k looming over my head. And that's considered good for most graduates. Some of my friends have up to $200,000. It's freaking insane. Whereas wealthier kids I graduated with have zero student debt and are beefing up their savings accounts, going on tropical vacations, buying houses, etc. Yeah, I know it's my responsibility for my debt. I chose to borrow money to finish my degree. But honestly, it gets disheartening at times. I can't help but to feel jealous at how expensive these high interest loans can get. I pay more in loans every month than I do in rent. Any high school kids out there reading this, please don't take out a loan. Especially private ones. Your school only cares about money and will do everything to push you to take out loans. I work at a pawn shop. The most common item pawned by low-income people are the latest most expensive iPhones and Samsungs. I know that not just poor people have them, but it baffles me how they can buy these with less income. A guy came in to pawn his Samsung Galaxy Fold S10 Plus and Note 9. He talks about his life to us at. He's always complaining about being broke. Why does he insist on having these phones, but complains about his financial situation? Cars. One of my employees makes $50,000 per year and has purchased 3 new cars in 3 years. Every time we give him a raise he buys a car and TV. Last time I pleaded with him to put the extra money in a savings account or have it withdrawn into an investment account. I begged him to be smart with his money. Fast forward 3 days after a raise and his wife went out and compulsively bought a car. I was beyond pissed. I was downright sad because no matter how much we pay him, he will always have money issues. He works hard and deserves what he gets paid, but I want all my employees to be smart with their money so they are not stressed at work. I can't legally force him to take a money management class before I give him his next raise, but I want to. I also found out that he didn't use the $600 a month health insurance stipend I was giving him to buy his family insurance. His daughter got sick, and I found out he didn't have insurance because healthcare collectors were calling me. He told me he had to use the money for bills. As a liberal voter, this experience has made me want to vote Republican. JK. That being said, some Republican lawmaker said that poor people will buy iPhones over health insurance, and he got a ton of crap for it, but unfortunately he made a correct observation. We desperately need money management classes to be mandatory in K through 12 education.